Welcome. This video and the two next ones belong together. In this video I will show you how to set up an HTTP server using the warp crate. In the next video I will show you the corresponding client with a request client. In the video after that we will show extensions with respect to client authentication and other stuff for both the server and the client. We begin simple as usual. Note that I have two dependencies here, Tokyo and Warp. I have probably too many features here, but never mind. The first program is a very minimal server. I run this in an asynchronous context by using the Tokyo main annotation. And first I build an API. For this I use the warp path macro and specify a path here. Constant strings are constant path components, and if I put a type here, I mean that it's a variable path component which is supposed to be handed in as a parameter. I then chain with this AND method here, and by saying warp get here, I say that this API is only valid for this path and for the get method. And finally, I specify a closure with a map function to execute when this path has been called. Here I can do whatever I want. I create a string, and for now I just use a response builder, also from the warp package, to hand this string out as a body. Once I have this API object, which has a very interesting complicated type, never mind for now, I parse an IP address from a string, like this. That's the standard net module. And then I serve the API. The run method gives me a future, which I can await. And I just have to give a pair of internet address, in this case 0000. So that binds to all network devices on port 8000. Let me see what this does. It starts a service. And if I now use curl http localhost port 8000 API name max, I get a HTTP response with a string hello max. And on this side here it says got request answering with hello max. So we have run our first HTTP service. We will now modify this program to do slightly more complicated things. First of all, I've added another dependency, namely serde.json. With this I can now do the following. I use the JSON macro, and as my response I can just form a JSON object. Notice that this is a JSON serde value. And then instead of using a request builder, I use the warp reply JSON method and just hand out this JSON object to get a JSON body response. The content type will automatically be set to JSON. Let me run this. And let me just ask it again as before. And you see we get a JSON object back, and the content type is set to application JSON. For the next example, we want to do a post request. I've added further dependencies. I use the bytes crate and the serde crate, such that I can use typed JSON parsing. Now, the example looks as follows. First of all, I define a struct and derive serialize and deserialize by using the serde derive methods. The struct has just a name and age, string, and an integer. Now here I replace the warp get by a warp post, and I say warp body bytes. That means that I want the body in the form of a bytes type handed into the handler function. Note that I have left out the path parameter. So the argument coming from the path is away, but the argument from the body is now here. Now this is just a bytes thing, and I can use the third adjacent parsing from slice by giving a byte slice here and parse this into a person struct. I ignore errors here because I just do unwrap, but I could of course handle parsing errors here. And likewise, I can just hand out the same object as JSON by serializing it, again with the warp reply JSON method. Let's see how this works. If I run the server here, and now do a post request with a body which is valid JSON, then I get back a JSON body with content type application JSON and an object serialized. The server has written I've been contacted with this person here. Now we want to use TLS for our server. Note that I have prepared a certificate authority, ca.pem, that's the certificate. And I've got a key pair. Key.pem is the server key and cert.pem is the server certificate. With this, I can just look at the source code. The server is unchanged, except that down here where I set up the service, I use warp serve API as before, and then I ask for TLS, give the certificate path and the key path, and then run the service as usual. Let's try this. Now I of course have to use curl. Let me first exchange to HTTPS here, and then not verify the certificate for now. And indeed I get a TLS handshake, and in the end the JSON body back. Now if I want to verify the certificate, I can do this by using the ca.pem file here, and indeed it works. Notice that if I had not worked this here, then it says curl failed to verify the legitimacy. So therefore we have set up a TLS successfully. For this video I only have a small modification left, namely, instead of directly starting the server, you can use the bind function to bind it to a network address, which gives you then a server object. And with this one, you can use Tokyo task spawn to spawn it. That gives you a join handle, and the thing runs in the background. Now you can await it until the server terminates, but in this setup without a proper shutdown method, this will never happen. In any case, this works exactly as before, and I can run it and get the JSON back. This was the first video about the warp server. We haven't covered everything, but I hope we can get you started with this. In the next video, I will show how to write a client for the particular servers we had here. And in a further video, I do more stuff like authentication, headers, and other special topics. See you in the next one.